Good afternoon, everyone. Justin Trudeau seems tired. He seems tired and kind of deflated. But here he is doing a little scrum interview on Cpac, and it says, well, the Cpac tweet says, PM Trudeau comments on lawsuit letter. You can't be inventing things. You can't be lying to Canadians. And I think highlighting that there are consequences when politicians choose to twist the truth and distort reality for Canadians. It's not something we're going to put up with. We're going to hear him say that. But I wanted to comment because it's really clear all of the Liberals are experiencing things very differently than a majority of Canadians. They are purposely twisting reality. They've purchased the press to push their slant on things. And honestly, racism was a thing that didn't exist in Canada until this guy and his insane band of Liberals brought it to Canada using identity politics, divisive language, and just really disgusting tactics. So this is not the person who anybody thought was being elected. This guy is 100%, 100 times worse. Here we go.
I think it's important that all politicians be straight with Canadians in how they characterize their own actions and their own beliefs. I think we're going to have an election in the coming months. You can't be inventing things. You can't be lying to Canadians. And I think highlighting that there are consequences in short term and long term when politicians choose to twist the truth and distort reality for Canadians. It's not something we're going to put up with. J'espère qu'il va continuer.
So I'm just going to stop him there. But I think that it's really interesting, again, when he is using his Liberal majority to shut down any further fact-finding around SNC Lavalin, and then he says, you're distorting reality for Canadians. He's pushing all of these surveys to find alt-right problems in Canada, and yet I can look at the newspaper. I did a whole story last week about Islamic-inspired attacks and how it's becoming much more commonplace and underreported in Canada. And yet they're trying to push this other narrative. It's so interesting to watch them accuse the Conservatives of exactly what they're doing. They are not telling Canadians the truth. And further, they have conflict of interests all over the place. This came across my Twitter feed, and Miss Rempel was the one who tweeted it out, and I looked into it, and it's interesting, very interesting. So Blacklock's reporter at Minding Ottawa is tweeting out, quote, "Oh boy, head investigator of agency conducting SNC Lavalin scandal probe is sister-in-law to a Liberal cabinet minister." Huh. And there's a link to more details. Not that many more details, but the Office of the Ethics Commissioner yesterday confirmed its acting director of investigations is sister-in-law to a Liberal cabinet minister. The office is conducting a closed-door investigation of SNC Lavalin Group Incorporated political scandal. We question whether the commissioner understands the notion of conflict. And we're going to get into what is conflict. But I found this, Democracy Watch, cleaning up and making governments and corporations more accountable to you and making Canada the world's leading democracy. Well, I think we've fallen a couple of pegs from grace, Democracy Watch, in the last couple of years, specifically the last 3. But here's the article dated April 8th, and it's very, well, It's scary is what it is. Democracy Watch questions whether Ethics Commissioner's senior lawyer is Liberal cabinet minister Dominic LeBlanc's sister-in-law. Now, we already know that, yes, it's confirmed that this is true. Okay, and we're going to look at the evidence presented by Democracy Watch because I want to show you how close this conflict of interest is, right? So, again, calls on Ethics Commissioner to delegate investigation of PMO AG, Attorney General, SNC Lavalin situation to a provincial ethics commissioner. Commissioner biased as Trudeau cabinet chose him after secretive, dishonest process, and senior lawyer also has appearance of bias. Monday, April 8th, 2019. Today, Democracy Watch raised questions about whether federal conflict of interest in Ethics Commissioner Mario Dion's senior lawyer, Martine Richard, is the sister of Jolene Richard, who is married to Trudeau cabinet minister Daniel LeBlanc. Ms. Richard heads the Investigations and Legal Services Division of the Ethics Commissioner's Office. Okay, first, I want to show you. Here is Martine Richard, okay, and Investigations and Legal Services. That's her position. I want to show you how how the power structure breaks down. This is the organizational chart right from the Government of Canada website. Link is in the description. You can see for yourself. This is Mr. Dion. He's on sick leave currently, and these are all the people who are in specific jobs. Miss Martin, sorry if I've got that wrong, is the Investigation and Legal Services. She's one of the 4 top bureaucrats in this organization that's investigating SNC Lavalin. So it's pretty insane. And here's Mr. LeBlanc, the MP, the Liberal MP, and it's on his Wikipedia page, Dominic LeBlanc, and he's a Liberal. Here he is. Just want to show you party affiliation, Liberal, Dominic LeBlanc. Okay, that's where he was. Yep. And personal life, married, Jolene Richard. Okay, so they're sisters, right? And isn't that interesting? What if they had a phone conversation? Do you text your sister, every day, every other day? Maybe every day? Maybe every morning and afternoon? I know some sisters who talk across the Atlantic most days. So I know people are close, and I know some people are not. But we do have ethics laws on the books, and I wanted to show you that it's not like this is just coming to light. They knew about this, being the Canadian government knew about this way back in February at the very earliest, somebody else also took note in February. So the government knew at least in February if they didn't already know, right? And here's a letter sent by Democracy Watch, but I guess we'll get there. I didn't go through the whole Democracy Watch article. So the article continues. If Miss Richard has this connection with Minister LeBlanc, and given Mr. Dion's current prolonged medical leave, Democracy Watch again called on Commissioner Dion to delegate to a provincial ethics commissioner who has no ties to any political party the investigation of its complaint concerning who tried to influence former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to intervene and stop prosecution of SNC Lavalin by Public Prosecution Services of Canada, the PPSC. Democracy Watch filed this first complaint with Ethics Commissioner Dion about the PMO, Attorney General SNC Lavalin situation, February 8th, which I just showed you, alleging that anyone covered by the Federal Conflict of Interest Act, including the Prime Minister and PMO staff, who tried to pressure the Attorney General, violated Section 9 of the Act by using his or her position as a public office holder to seek to influence a decision of another person so as to ... improperly further another person's private interests. So I scroll down. Incredibly, it seems the employees in the Ethics Commissioner's Office are exempt from the federal government-wide values and ethics code for public sector and the policy on conflict of interests and post-employment, and the office seems to be exempt from the requirement to have an internal ethics code set out in Section 6 of the Public Servants Disclosure Protection Act. However, the Ethics Commissioner's Office does have an internal code that, like the government-wide code, requires all employees to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest and to resolve any conflict of interest in the public's interest. For example, by not participating in a decision-making process when they have an apparent conflict of interest, page 9. The code also prohibits employees from, quote, granting preferential treatment or advantages to family, friends, or any other person or entity, page 10. All federal ethics rules define family as including family by marriage. So, we'll have a look at the letter sent by Democracy Watch on February 8th. So February 8th, they say, request for inquiry into members of the Office of the Prime Minister trying to influence the Attorney General's decision concerning the prosecution of SNC Lavalin. Request that you recuse yourself from conducting inquiry and ruling on the above matter because you were appointed by the Trudeau cabinet and also because of your statements showing bias against effective enforcement. Request that you ensure this and other Democracy Watch complaints will be investigated and ruled on, given the commitment you made before the House Ethics Committee in December 2017. And basically just outlines what I've been telling you. Here is the guiding ethics statement for the Office of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner. It says Code of Values and Standards for Conduct for employees of the Office of the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner. And I'm going to scroll down to page 9 because that's the important page, 9 and 10. And again, these are just words on a paper, right? Really, everybody gets these when they start a new job. I wonder how seriously they take them. How many days ago was February 8th? Around 60? Interesting. Here's the Integrity Commissioner, or here's the relevant part in the note in the handbook. Integrity. Integrity is the cornerstone of good governance and democracy. By upholding the highest ethical standards, employees of the office can serve and enhance public confidence in the honesty, fairness, and objectivity of the office specifically, and in Parliament in general. All employees must report to the Commissioner using the confidential report available at HR Services all outside activities, assets, and interests that might give rise to real, apparent, or personal or potential conflict of interest in relation to their official duties. This must be done within 60 days of their appointment or transfer to the office, and every time a major change occurs in their personal affairs. As employees of the office, we shall serve the public interest by acting at all times with integrity, with careful stewardship of public funds, and in a manner that will bear the closest public scrutiny, by never using our official roles to inappropriately obtain or accept an advantage, including a gift, for ourselves or to advantage or disadvantage others, taking all possible steps to prevent and resolve any real, apparent, or potential conflict of interest between our official responsibilities and our private affairs in favor of the public interest, conducting ourselves in a manner that befits our secret security clearance, reporting any wrongdoing to our immediate supervisor, to the director, corporate management, responsibly using the financial and office resources assigned to us. Really? Managing information in such a way that decisions made by the offices are properly documented and available years from now, adopting and maintaining practices within and outside the office that will protect the confidentiality of information to which we are privileged given the specific mandate of the office. And there's more. Page 10 is referenced as well. But I want to point out that 60 days ago, they were made aware that the public knew that there was a conflict of interest, and it appears that not much has been done to fix it. And that's interesting, because it seems like that's an asset that they being the Liberal government, don't want to get rid of. So why is the conflict of interest allowed to carry on? Why is the ethics commissioner, who went off sick suspiciously right after accepting the SNC Lavalin ethics case, just went off sick? What's the timeline for that? The ethics commissioner is a long-term appointment, and Trudeau was the one who appointed this one, despite the many concerns raised, and despite the improper procedural stuff that got him into office. So, and his predecessor is the one who gave Mr. Trudeau the 4 ethics violations that he currently has, the only sitting prime minister ever to have ethics violations. So Mr. Trudeau is not a nice man. And yeah, here's another conflict of interest that appears to be conveniently ignored. There are 5 SNC Lavalin offices within 5 kilometers of the new Attorney General, his riding, Mr. Lametti, right? Is that a conflict of interest? You get to choose it's an inherent conflict of interest, right? These people's jobs, as we've been told, rely on that. So how is putting somebody who lives in the area within 5 kilometers a way to have an impartial decision? Somebody who's impartially weighing all the facts when you actually live there. It makes no sense. And you can't claim it's not a conflict of interest. Here's the dictionary definition: a situation in which the concerns or aims of 2 different parties are incompatible. Right. You want to help your sister, and your sister really wants you to turn a blind eye to this SNC thing, nothing to see here. But you also know that it might not apply and it might not qualify. And yeah, the pressure was maybe rose to illegal, but you don't want to disappoint your sister. Is that a conflict of interest? Or is that something that a reasonable lawyer can suss out? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a conflict of interest. Another definition is a situation in which a person is in a position to derive personal benefit from actions or decisions made in their official capacity. Right. Just as Jolene's sister, that means nothing, but Jolene's husband is an MP in the Liberal cabinet, and Jolene's sister is somebody who's deciding, really, who has the final say in SNC. What do you think? Impartial? Super easy to make that call. How's the Sunday dinner? How's Christmas and Thanksgiving, guys? Good? Everybody happy? Right. Thanks for wrecking my life. Thanks for ruining my re-election chances. Right? Is that a conflict of interest, or am I just reading too much into that? I don't know. Is it up to me to decide? Apparently, they're not deciding. Apparently, they don't care, because they knew on February 8th that there was a problem. And trying to find it, but it's not there. Yeah, there it is. February 8th. They knew there was a problem. And it's been 60 days. What have they done to solve it? Nothing. Well, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca and maybe check out canadapoly.com if you've got some time. We'd love to have you. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon.